morning, this is Kevin Ashworth, Northwest Anxiety Institute, doing another video today. Today we're going to talk about listening. As you can see, I'm sitting in my therapy office. I have a clinic, I'm a co-director of an anxiety clinic in Portland, Oregon, and we specialize in anxiety disorders for children, adolescents, and adults. We do exposure response prevention, the gold standard treatment. I'm new to the creating video blogs every day, and I want to add as many as I can. I was highly ambitious, saying every day. Realized I kind of live out in the country and don't have a really good Wi-Fi connection to actually upload my videos when I'm out there, so probably while I'm at work will be the best time to do that. Please subscribe, Kevin Ashworth on YouTube. You can go to www.nwanxiety.com for our website and check out our Facebook page as Northwest Anxiety Institute. Today I want to talk about listening. I see a lot of children, which means I see a lot of parents. A lot of parents want to know how to help their anxious kids, and unfortunately their strategy has always been to do things for them to accommodate. I can talk for a long time about accommodations and the problems that arise from accommodating your child's anxiety, not accommodating your child. It creates more problems, as you've probably experienced if you have an anxious child. But today I want to talk about the simplest intervention. The reason people spend millions of dollars going to therapy is to be heard, is to be validated. Because we don't want to see our kids struggle, we offer solutions all the time. So the second your kid says, I'm hungry, you say, well, why don't you get something to eat? I'm thirsty, well, why don't you have something to drink? Johnny's not nice, well, don't hang out with Johnny. I'm struggling with schoolwork, well, why don't you sit down and work harder? We are constantly offering information instead of listening. And when we listen, we validate concerns. We know as adults that when we complain or at least express things, we don't necessarily want people to solve our problems. I don't want my wife to say, for example, when I say I'm stressed out, I've seen lots of clients and I'm tired, and I don't want her to say, well, why don't you reduce your caseload? Why don't you see less people? Why don't you work more efficiently? I just want her to say, sounds like a rough day. So listening is so important, and it's something that gets lost so quickly. I think we feel in order to be good parents or good partners or good friends that we have to provide information. As any of you know that have a friend or a partner or a child, people don't really take our advice. And so listening is the best way, one, to de-escalate an anxious child, two, to model calmness, and to know that you will take them to a place to help problem solve, but really just to be there with them. The biggest frustration of many children and teenagers is they believe that their parents don't understand their concerns. Nobody gets it, they say. And I believe them. Nobody gets it because nobody listens. We believe that their reality is less important, that we're just going to help them very quickly figure out their issue. And so some tips for listening is, I tell parents, pretend you put your hand over your mouth. Engage, turn off your phone. Do this at a time. Be strategic when you can do this. Don't do this at a time when you need to be around your other children. You're preparing dinner, or preparing your tax return, or preparing your video blog. Do this when you really have time to listen. And if you don't have time, let them know that you really want to hear what they're saying, but let's set some time aside to do that. And active listening involves empathy. And when people empathize with each other, we feel validated. And so empathy is very different to sympathy. Sympathy is, again, somewhat offering a solution and feeling bad for the other person. And so it's kind of equivalent to saying, oh, that's too bad, why don't you do this to feel better, which parents do all the time. And so parents might say, you had a rough day? Well, why don't you sit down and eat a sandwich? Again, we're offering solutions to help them feel better. I'm okay with kids sitting with the stress and just being heard, and I think that will go a really, really long way. Empathy is sitting with them in that nasty place and knowing what it's like to feel the way that they feel, whether that's stressed out, whether that's lonely, whether abandoned, whether they're not getting enough Facebook likes, or their friends being mean, or their work is too hard. You don't have to experience what they have experienced to sit there with them. Brene Brown is a very popular author, and she has an amazing YouTube video on empathy versus sympathy. I would recommend checking out. You can just put in Brene Brown, empathy versus sympathy. She also has an amazing TED Talk on the power of vulnerability, so I would also check that out. And I quote her often in the work I do with parents because I think her work is awesome. So today, listening. Please do it. Please practice it. It does take practice like anything else. You're not good at it just because you're an adult, and you're not great at it just because you're a parent. And so really set some time aside and really see if you can understand your kids' concerns. It will blow their mind. I'm serious. What else are you going to do today that challenges you? Maybe this is really scary for you. Maybe sitting with that vulnerability. Empathy requires us as the listener to be vulnerable too, which is very, very difficult. And so maybe that is the one thing you're going to do today to challenge yourself. But do something. So ask yourself, if you're watching this video, which I appreciate very much, what am I going to do today to scare me? What is something challenging for me today? Don't live in that comfort zone. Push yourself a little bit incrementally. And one last very important tip is, if you're going to push yourself, make sure you're doing it openly and freely without a safety behavior. So often many people will tell me, exposure won't work for me. I already exposed myself to lots of challenging things. But they always do that very much scared and afraid. I'd rather do much smaller things open, say bring it, bring it, bring it, than do something very challenging but have lots of safety behaviors and have your phone and your water bottle and your best friend and all those things, because that negates your whole experience. Anyway, thanks so much, guys. Do something today that scares you. Fight fear, find freedom. Please subscribe if you like it. And I'm getting great feedback. I'm learning how to do this. I'm trying to adjust the lights and the sound and all that stuff to make this a better kind of produced production. But thanks so much for the support. It's been fantastic.